Here is your latest African news. Algeria. Wildfires kill at least 32 people as blazes ravage forests and villages east of the capital. Algeria's president announced that 32 people, including 25 soldiers, have been killed, saving residents from the wildfires ravaging forests and villages east of the capital, adding to the fire death toll this week in the North African nation. President Abdelmadjid Tebboune tweeted late on Tuesday that the soldiers saved 100 citizens from the blazes in two areas in the mountains Kabylie region, home of the Berbers. 4 other soldiers were seriously burned fighting the fires, and 7 others also had severe burns, the Ministry of National Defense has confirmed. At least 19 fires broke out in 14 provinces across the country. Enormous wildfires have continued to rage across parts of Europe and the United States in recent weeks. Ethiopia PM Abiy Ahmed calls on civilians to join the Tigray war. Ethiopia's Prime Minister has called on civilians to join the army in its fight against rebels in the Tigray region. Abiy Ahmed called and asked all capable Ethiopians to show their patriotism by joining the war, which is raging across the north of the country. Fighting has escalated since June, when the rebels, led by Tigray People's Liberation Front, recaptured much of Tigray in an offense. This came after the federal army had withdrawn and declared a ceasefire. The TPLF has been designated a terrorist organization by the government, but the group says it is the legitimate regional government of Tigray. Fighting broke out in November of 2020, that was last year, between the government troops and the TPLF, which ruled Ethiopia for decades and now controls Tigray. The conflict has forced over 2 million people to flee their homes, with hundreds of thousands pushed into famine conditions. Tunisia sizzles in record temperatures. Tunisia has seen temperatures in the north of the country hit record highs, according to a meteorological office. The capital, Tunis, reached 49 degrees Celsius, and further north in Bizerte, it hit 46 degrees Celsius. While such high temperatures are common in the south of Tunisia, along with the Sahara, it's rare for its coastal cities to witness these stifling conditions. The heat wave has hit both Tunisia and neighboring Algeria. There are concerns, though, that these high temperatures might trigger wildfires like the deadly ones Algeria is currently battling, although it's unclear how those fires started. South Africa. Zuma corruption trial postponed to 9th of September. Doctors to provide health report. Former President Jacob Zuma was expected to attend court in person on Tuesday for the latest chapter in his corruption trial, along with French arms company Thales, in the so-called arms deal case. Following his hospitalization for undisclosed medical reasons on Friday, however, court proceedings were diverted to requesting a postponement on medical grounds. Judge Piet Koen, presiding over the matter before the KwaZulu-Natal High Court in Pietermaritzburg, postponed the matter to 9 and 10 September. Koen also directed that the medical reports from Zuma's doctors be submitted to the court by no later than the 20th of August. Koen further directed that the state may appoint a doctor of its choice to examine Zuma to assess his ability to stand trial, and for that doctor to appear before the court to give this evidence if such is necessary. Chad invites armed groups to participate in national dialogue. Chad's transitional president has invited opposition armed groups to participate in a national dialogue to determine the future of the country, reversing previous statements that the government would not negotiate with rebels. Mahamad Idris Deby, who leads the Transitional Military Council, seized power in April after his father, the former president, was killed while visiting troops fighting an insurgency in the north. Rebel groups were invited to take part in an inclusive national dialogue. Before the holding of presidential and legislative elections, Deby said on Tuesday, without giving a timetable for this. He stated that he is hoping for a frank, sincere and open dialogue between the political military movements. Cameroon. Cameroon says hundreds of Boko Haram militants from Nigeria and Chad surrender. Cameroonian officials say at least 82 former Boko Haram fighters from Nigeria and Chad, along with their families, have surrendered to authorities in the past week. Authorities say they're the latest among hundreds of the militant Islamists who have been defecting since May, when the group's leader was killed. Cameroon plans to deport the former fighters as the influx has overwhelmed rehabilitation centers along the border. Cameroon's government on August the 10th said its National Committee for Disarmament, Demobilization and Reintegration Center in Meri, a northern town on the border of Nigeria, has 967 former jihadist militants. A week ago, there were about 700 former Boko Haram fighters and their families in the center. Among the over 260 who arrived within the past 1 week are 82 former Boko Haram male fighters. The others are women and children. Zambia. Zambians to meet at the polls tomorrow. Zambians will head to polling stations to choose their candidates for president, parliament, and local councils. There are 7,023,499 registered voters across 12,152 polling stations in 156 constituencies. Although 16 candidates will be contesting the presidencies, most analysts agreed that this election will be a two-horse race between the incumbent President Edgar Lungu of the Patriotic Front and the United Party of National Development candidate Hakainde Hichilema. A recent Afrobarometer report has suggested a widespread erosion of PF support in both rural and urban areas, with the number of respondents saying they would vote for PF down from 44.8% in 2017 to 22.9% in December 2020. Tomorrow's election will be critical for the sustainability of democracy in the country and the border region at large. Kenya. Kenyan troops deployed to Restive, Beni in DR Congo. Kenyan troops have been deployed to the troubled Beni region, North Kivu province, where the Congolese government has struggled to restore calm over the years. They now join Tanzanian soldiers who have been in the region for 3 months now. Later, they will be joined by South African and Nepalese troops as well. Together, they are expected to prop up forces from the United Nations Stabilization Mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo, MONUSCO, who have been repulsing several rebel groups, including Uganda-based ADF, Alliance Democratic Forces fighters, who are settled in DRC forests. It is estimated that there are about 100 rebel groups operating in the DRC. These fighters prey on defenseless civilians on a regular basis and are responsible for several mass killings in Beni since 2014. Kenyan troops will now brace for conflict-hardened enemies who sometimes hide behind the cover of civilians. Thank you for watching. Visit our YouTube channel, Tuna Cheki, to watch our daily news reports and our website at tunacheki.tv for all the latest news updates. You can directly support this news series by becoming our YouTube member or becoming a patron. And remember, Africa is watching. And please feel free to leave your suggestions, news tips, or topics about Africa that you'd like us to explore.